What if T-Rex was a herbivore? Imagine the most fearsome predator that ever walked the earth, the Tyrannosaurus rex, with its massive jaws, bone-crushing bite, and terrifying roar. It was the very symbol of power and dominance in the dinosaur age. But what if everything we thought about T-Rex was flipped upside down? What if instead of being a fearsome carnivore, the king of dinosaurs was actually a herbivore? At first, the idea sounds almost laughable. How could a creature built like a tank, armed with teeth like daggers, survive by eating plants? But let's imagine this alternative reality. A world where T-Rex doesn't hunt, doesn't chase, and doesn't tear flesh, but instead grazes on prehistoric plants and trees. The first change would be in its teeth. In reality, T-Rex had serrated, banana-shaped teeth, perfect for tearing flesh and crushing bone. As a herbivore, it would have evolved flatter, leaf-shaped teeth for grinding plants. Its bite force would still be powerful, but instead of cracking bones, it would be used to crush fibrous vegetation. Its jaws would look less terrifying. Instead of a mouth designed for aggression, they would resemble the beak-like structures of modern herbivores, like iguanas or even giant tortoises. Imagine a T-Rex chomping on ferns rather than ripping apart a Triceratops. The next big change would be its behavior. As a carnivore, T-Rex was an apex predator, hunting or scavenging to survive. As a herbivore, it would no longer need to chase prey. Instead, it would likely move in herds, slowly migrating across landscapes in search of vegetation, much like modern elephants or sauropod dinosaurs. That means the image of T-Rex as a solitary hunter stalking the shadows would vanish. Instead, we'd imagine groups of T-Rex peacefully grazing in open fields, using their size as protection against predators rather than weapons of attack. But if T-Rex were a herbivore, the entire ecosystem of the late Cretaceous would change. Predators rely on herbivores for food. If one of the largest carnivores in history no longer hunted, other predators would face less competition. Species like raptors or giant crocodiles might rise to dominate the food chain. This change would ripple across the balance of power, without T-Rex as a top predator. Prey species like Hadrosaurs or ceratopsians might face less hunting pressure. Their populations would explode, reshaping the vegetation and landscapes of ancient Earth. On the other hand, if T-Rex consumed plants, the competition for food among herbivores would become intense. Imagine Triceratops, Ankylosaurs, and Hadrosaurs suddenly competing with herds of plant-eating T-Rex for ferns, cycads, and conifers. The balance of herbivore communities would be thrown into chaos. Over time, evolution might even favor a smaller, less aggressive version of T-Rex. Without the need for massive jaws and killing power, they might shrink slightly, becoming more efficient grazers rather than towering hunters. Social behavior would also shift. Herbivores often rely on cooperation and group defense. We might have seen T-Rex forming protective circles around their young, much like elephants, rather than solitary hunting. Their tiny arms, once mocked as useless for hunting, might have evolved to help pull down branches or strip leaves. Even their speed and body structure could change. As a carnivore, T-Rex needed bursts of speed to chase prey. As a herbivore, it might become slower, heavier, and more focused on endurance, moving across great distances to feed. The impact on paleontology would be enormous. The T-Rex skeletons we see in museums would be interpreted completely differently. Instead of being displayed with open jaws, roaring in attack, we might see reconstructions of them grazing peacefully, surrounded by lush greenery. Popular culture would never have painted T-Rex as the monster of Jurassic Park. Instead of a terrifying predator breaking through fences, audiences might have seen a gentle giant wandering the fields, perhaps even portrayed as a friendly dinosaur like a brontosaurus. But would a herbivorous T-Rex still be as famous? Probably not. Part of the fascination with T-Rex comes from its role as a terrifying apex predator. Plant-eating version might have been respected for its size, but it would not have captured the imagination of fear and awe in the same way. Yet, the ecological role of a giant herbivore is just as important as that of a predator. By eating vast amounts of vegetation, T-Rex could have shaped forests, opened landscapes, and created environments where other species could thrive. In this alternate reality, it would be a gardener of the Cretaceous, not its executioner. Interestingly, its massive size would still make it nearly untouchable. Even if it didn't eat meat, few predators would dare attack a herd of T-Rex. Much like elephants today, their sheer bulk would be their ultimate defense. But one big question remains: could a body like T-Rex's really sustain itself on plants? To fuel such a massive creature, it would have to eat constantly, consuming hundreds of kilograms of vegetation every day. This could reshape entire ecosystems as forests struggled to keep up with the appetite of herds of giant herbivorous T-Rex. From a scientific perspective, the idea of a herbivorous T-Rex also makes us reflect on evolution. Nature shapes animals for survival. If T-Rex had truly been a plant eater, then perhaps our entire view of predator-prey relationships in the dinosaur era would be different. So, what if T-Rex was a herbivore? The king of dinosaurs would no longer be the terror of the ancient world, but instead its gentle giant. Ecosystems would shift, predators would change, and humanity's cultural view of dinosaurs would be completely transformed. Maybe we wouldn't call it the tyrant lizard king. Perhaps we would call it the giant grazing lizard, instead of a nightmare made of teeth and claws. T-Rex would be remembered as a peaceful titan that ruled the land with size and strength, not with fear. And perhaps the biggest lesson is this: whether predator or herbivore, every role in nature is vital. Apex predators keep populations in check, while herbivores shape the land itself. A world without one or the other would be completely different. So the next time you picture a roaring T-Rex, imagine instead a towering dinosaur quietly chewing on ferns under the shade of ancient trees. Terrifying or gentle, it would still be one of the most fascinating creatures ever to walk the earth.